Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sharon Cardos and we're here to talk about all things that have to do with teaching. So I'm about to start my 33rd year. We start next week. Monday we have work days and Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we actually have students who show up. Yes, it's August, first week of August. It's very early, but we're going to be ready. So in today's video, I wanted to show you one way that I help to start building relationships in my classroom from like the first day of school, the first week of school. So your administrators are always talking to you about building relationships and how that helps with classroom discipline. And I totally agree, but there's no reason it can't be fun also. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to play cards with my students, because kids don't play cards anymore. They all have online games, they have Switches and Xboxes, and they do all their gaming that way. So we play a lot of card games, we play a lot of board games. Now, lots of the kids know how to play Uno. Uno's fun, right? But a lot of my students don't know anything about playing with regular decks of cards. So that's something that I like to start off the year with, and it helps them to get to know each other, and it helps me to get to know them as well. So first of all, what are some positives about playing card games? So number one, they're inexpensive. So I went on Amazon and I got some cards. I could get they came out to about $1 a pack. It was actually cheaper than going down to the dollar store, and they last a little while. You might have to replace them, especially with middle school kids, because they can be kind of rough, but my students have been really pretty good about it. So it's also a way that you can reward students. You can have game day without it costing you a lot of extra money, because once you have the cards, then you can use them year after year. And the kids love when we have game day. So it's a privilege that they know that they have to earn. And if they don't earn it, we don't get to play. So I'm gonna give you, it teaches problem solving, it teaches them how to strategize, and it also teaches them some social skills too, which is something that we do discuss before we actually start playing the games. So next week, one of the first games that I will teach my students is going to be Go Fish, which is a pretty easy game, and you would think that a lot of kids learn it in elementary school, but they didn't. So number one tip I have for you today is don't assume they know anything. Don't just hand them decks of cards and say, here, play Go Fish, because I'm here to tell you they don't know anything about a deck of cards, let alone how to play Go Fish. You may have a few, but for the most part, my kids don't know anything about a deck of cards. There may be a couple of kids who've played solitaire or watched their parents or grandparents play solitaire, or they maybe have played it online, but they haven't done it with a real deck of cards. So we start off by learning about the decks of cards. We talk about how many cards there are in a regular deck of cards. We also have a probability unit that we do at the end of the year, and cards are great for teaching probability, because you can ask them, what's the probability that I would pull a king? That sort of question. So it's something that I use throughout the year. So we talk about how many cards there are, what the suits are. They don't know the names of the cards. They like to call this one a clover, okay? And they definitely don't know the names of all the face cards, okay? And they cannot tell you the difference between a jack and a joker, okay? So I usually go through and take the jokers out unless it's for a game that we need, and we focus on just having the face cards in there, because they don't know the difference between the two. So don't assume they know anything about a deck of cards. They don't know what an ace card is. So we talk about how sometimes ace cards are high, sometimes ace cards are low. We also talk about what is higher, a king or an ace? What's higher, a queen or a jack? Okay, so we talk about that. We talk about the number cards. I know a lot of teachers use the numbered ones to teach skills to their students, like positives and negatives. They'll have one color for the positive numbers and one color for the negative numbers, and they use those throughout the year, and that is great, okay? But sometimes we just like to have fun with the cards too. So first tip is assume they know nothing, and take the time to actually teach them about a deck of cards and the different parts to the decks of cards. I even go into detail about the one-eyed jacks and the two-eyed jacks. They always think that's pretty interesting as well. And they all want to play poker, but I've never played poker with my students in class because I teach middle school and we're not ready for poker. We're starting with Go Fish, which brings me to tip number 2. Start with easy card games, okay? So that's one of the reasons that I choose Go Fish, is because it's very basic, and once the kids know the rules, it's something that they can play on their own. It's something that they can then teach their younger brothers and sisters how to play when they get home, and they have a lot of fun with it. Now for Go Fish, they also have to ask each other name, okay? So you have some cards in your hand and you're saying, you know, Susie, do you have any queens? Okay. And by the way, you'll hear your students say, do you have any Qs? And I always try to correct them and say, what's that Q stand for? Because I want them to know that she's a queen. Okay. We don't say, do you have any Qs? We say, do you have any queens? It's just something I always think is funny. So we use each other's names. So normally I'll have them in groups of 4, and the groups can change, which will help them get to know more students in the classroom. So they're asking each other's names. And in order to help facilitate knowing each other's names and remembering each other's names, I actually have them do a little name tent activity the very first thing. And this is for free in my TPT store if you would like to download it. And you can either print their name here, you can type it in. My rosters change constantly that first week of school, so I just have them write their name in, and then they answer some questions, which you can also use for a little icebreaker activity one day. And you can use these to take attendance. If you collect them at the end of each period, you can use them to rearrange the groups. That way they get to know more people in the classroom. So they'll have their name, they'll have it sitting up, and then that way if they forget somebody's name in their group, it's right there on the name tent for them. So start with the easy card games. Now, some of the other card games that I like to teach them, we do Go Fish, we do Old Maid. They like Old Maid. We do, let's see, War. War is always a big hit. We do Crazy Eights. That one's not as much fun once you've done War and Go Fish, but you know, it's something different. I like to teach them as many as possible. We do Snap, which is also a good game, and Speed is an excellent game. Speed is a little bit more complicated. I usually save this one for a little bit later in the year because they have to know how to set up the cards, and they also have to know which one is higher than the other. So I actually have the rules for all of these because I print these out and I put them on the tables because there's only one of me in the classroom and there's usually somewhere between 25 and 30-ish of them. And so if I can't get to them to answer a question they might have, then they have the rules right there on the table. So like I said, free download. This is actually on my website, SharonCardos.com, but it's free to download in my resource library. So nice games that they like to play. And all of these are easy. All of these are ones that they can play on their own. So tip number 1 was to assume they know nothing. And tip number 2, start with easy games. Tip number 3 is change up the groups so they get to know more people and join in. Okay, I can't tell you how much kids love it when the teacher sits down at the table and plays cards with them. So invite an administrator in. They like to get to know the kids as well. So I have the administrators come in sometimes, they sit down, they play card games with the kids, and it's just a fun way for them to spend some time with the kids in a positive interaction as well. And it helps me to get to know the kids and to get to know their personalities if I actually sit down and play cards with them. I try not to just give them the cards and then I sit at my desk. Maybe if it's later on in the year, last week of school or whatever, I might do that. But usually I like to walk around and join in just because I enjoy card games and it's fun. It's a fun day for all of us. Let's see. What will happen, if you will notice, is that sometimes as you're walking across campus, especially during lunch or any of those times when the kids have free time, you'll see them start to bring their own decks of cards to school, and you'll see them out playing cards on their own. So it's kind of interesting and it's a lot of fun. It always kind of warms my heart to see it when that happens. And you can also, they have little mini decks of cards and things like that that you can get to put in your prize box as well. So that would be something that if you can get donated, or even if you can write a grant. I wrote a grant for games one year, board games and that sort of thing, but even if you can write a grant, there are lots of ways that you can justify using cards in your classroom for learning. So I hope you found this video useful today, and again, they come in handy later in the year when we do probability, but don't assume they know how to play cards, because most of them won't. Number 2, start with the easy games. Number 3, change up the groups and join in and have a little fun with them yourself. Thanks for stopping by my channel today, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.